Okay, is Joel Kahn getting soft? Joe Rogan, myself, Chris Kresser. Let's hear about this in a second. But first, as you guys know the drill now, success story. I got literally thousands of these. I'm going to read success story every day just because. If you guys don't like it, here's the deal. Success stories, other stuff, other BS stuff, and then the main topics. If you want to skip ahead, go ahead. That's kind of the format here. All right, success story. Hey, so I want to tell you that I had suffered from severe ulcerative colitis. They had me on steroids for a long time. A friend suggested that I try the Carnivore Diet. I thought to myself, well, I have nothing to lose, so I gave it a shot. Instantly, within a day, I had zero stomach cramping. My stomach actually felt incredible. And I know this is TMI, but my poop was normal too. I can't believe this actually works. It has changed my life. I don't have acne, mood swings, abnormal periods, nor water retention, weight gain anymore. I don't have to rely on medicines anymore to make me feel better. Just stick to this diet and I feel like $1 million. There's a lot of folks with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease that have seen significant improvement with a carnivore diet. And so, hey guys, what do you have to lose, right? World Carnivore Month is coming up soon. January 1, get ready guys. All right. Irish bog dude found, they've got this kind of crazy mummified portion of his body, kind of creepy looking actually, but found several thousand years ago. And what they comment on that is remains were naturally mummified and preserved so well that scientists were able to even determine his last meal after analyzing the contents of his stomach, wheat and buttermilk. But for at least 4 months prior to his death, he was shown to have a meat-rich diet. Based on the length of his arms, he was estimated to have been 6 feet 6 inches tall, which is about 1 inch taller than I am, which would have been extremely tall for that time period. And so what we see is that diet quality predicts height, particularly in population studies. And so let's talk about another group called the Gravettians. And so this is an article called The World's Tallest Men Traced Back to Paleolithic Mammoth Hunters. And so these weren't guys that were eating poop-covered vegetables, as James Wilkes likes to suggest how humans got B12. They got their B12 from mammoths. All right, what do we know about these guys who are Gravettians? So based on skeletal remains, Gravettian men appear to have been some of the largest prehistoric men on the face of the earth at the time, averaging between 5 foot 10 inches and 6 foot 2. 6 foot 2 inches. Little is known about this prehistoric culture, but the Gravettians are generally referred to as mammoth hunters. This is based on archaeologic evidence of stones, weapons such as clubs and crude spears, which archaeologists suspect were used to hunt big game. And Pavel Grossgruber, who led the study, believes that the high-protein diet of these mammoth hunters led them to realize their genetic potential and create their conditions for genetic selection of tallness. Again, when we look at populations, quality diet, high-quality animal protein diet leads to overall tallness. You can compare the 6 foot 2 Gravettians, who would even today be among the tallest populations that ever lived. I mean, in Europe right now, the tallest people around, which are the tallest people in the world right now, are like the Dutch and the Croatians, who average about 6 feet tall. So these guys at 6 foot 2 would arguably be larger than them. And so you probably had guys that were 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", walking around killing mammoths. And you compare that to the Mayans, who are obviously a grain-based culture, looking at mostly maize, 5 foot 2. All right, so there is a significant difference here. All right, before we get into our last topic, we're looking for video success stories for you guys that have benefited from the carnivore diet. If you've had your diabetes, your joint pain, your digestion, your autoimmune disease, your mental health disease, your obesity, or your skin issues clear up on a carnivore diet, please submit us a video story. We need to use those to further this movement that is helping so many people. So many people, okay? All right, let's watch this little clip from Dr. Joel Kahn. And Dr. Joel, if you're watching this, I hope you appreciate all the success stories we're seeing on the carnivore diet and be open to that. All right, guys, let's take a quick look at this video.
Joe Rogan's diet is a healthy diet. Chris Kresser's diet is a healthy diet. My diet, Wilkes' diet, are healthy diets. The only difference is the small amount of animal products they put on their plate versus our plates. And that does matter in terms of ethics and the environment. But in terms of health, it's very hard to distinguish 95% whole food plant diets from 100% whole food plant diets, or even 85%. The point of all this is we need to unify. We need to invite Sean Baker, MD, even him, into the discussion about the overwhelming problem of processed food, hyper-processed food, calorie-rich and processed food craps that the average American is eating and decimating their health and costing $3.3 trillion a year in U.S. healthcare. That's the problem. Kresser will reach some, Wilkes will reach some, I will reach some, even Baker will reach some, Rogan reaches a lot. Don't eat crap. That's what the USDA food plate teaches. That's what.
Okay, Dr. Joel Kahn, Joe Rogan's diet's healthy. Now, I will point to Joe Rogan's diet, and I will say it's not 95% plant-based. I would take issue with that. I think he eats a lot of meat. As you know, I eat a lot of meat. I had 6 pounds of meat yesterday, and I woke up 2 pounds lighter. Imagine that. That's just kind of funny. So, but let's talk about evidence, Dr. Joel Kahn, because I know you are an evidence-based man, and so I'm not as sure if you're aware of this term or this fact, but the term evidence-based medicine was actually coined and first utilized by a guy named Professor Gordon Guyatt. Professor Gordon Guyatt is a distinguished professor at McMaster's University up in Canada. I know you like distinguished and all this appeal to authority stuff, so we use Gordon Guyatt as the father of evidence-based medicine. And I actually interviewed him on my podcast a couple days ago. And here's what he has to say about nutrition in general, and particularly dietary guidelines. I said, Dr. Guyatt, should we even have dietary guidelines? And he said the evidence around nutrition is so weak that we shouldn't even have dietary guidelines because there's no real good evidence to support that. And I would agree with him. So I think when it comes to which diet is the best and which diet we should prescribe to people, looking at population-based data, I don't think that's a very good way to do things. I mean, we're sitting there arguing about relative risk 1.2, 1.1, 1.3. It's incredibly weak stuff. And so let's admit that the nutrition science is weak at best, and we can't make good conclusions on that. I would agree with you. Let's get the junk food out of that. Let's stop eating the industrial food. Let's eat whole foods, regardless if they're plants, regardless if they're meats. Let's stop demonizing meat. I know you're certainly giving a little concession to that. I think the evidence is just that I put out there every day is just grinding, saying success story, success story, success story, success story, ad nauseum is sort of maybe some people are opening, and I applaud you for being open to that. I would disagree with you on ethics and environment for a number of reasons. I'm not going to get into that in this video. I think an animal-based diet can be both incredibly ethical and incredibly restorative to the planet if we choose to do that. And yes, I do believe that is scalable and sustainable. And there's a lot of reason for that. I'll go into that in a different video. But if we would agree that the evidence, the hierarchy of evidence is still stands. We've got, stuff at the bottom and at the top, double-blind, randomized controlled trials, which we don't have. But the evidence that's relative, and this is, again, looking at populations, saying what can we recommend for the populations. We just don't have that data, so we can't make those recommendations. But when it comes to my own personal evidence, your own personal evidence, this guy's personal evidence, the people that are watching us, your N=1 study is extremely relevant to you. And so let's not discount that evidence for a own personal individual, because it's silly to not look at that. And if we admit that our nutrition science is based on very limited and very weak evidence, we cannot infer causality based on diet. We cannot confer long-term outcomes. We're still fighting about how do we sustain a diet that won't cause obesity. The calories in, calories out guys will say, well, you just restrict calories. Well, guess what? It doesn't work for everybody. Most people can't do it. So you have to find a diet that they can stick to. And we're debating on what's the best diet for that. We can't even determine a short-term outcome like obesity based on all the data we have. So you're going to tell me now we're going to predict heart disease or cancer risk 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now based on what we know about nutrition? I think that is not, I think that's ridiculous, quite honestly. And so let's stop fighting about that stuff. Let's just say we don't know, because I'm certainly happy to say we don't know. And I will tell you, I don't care if you do a vegan diet. If it works for you, that's great. You know, I don't personally think it's the best diet, but that's fine. I'm not opposed to you doing that. Likewise, I do best on a meat-heavy, and in my case, a fully meat-based diet. And I don't demonize fruits and vegetables and other whole foods or carbohydrates, to be honest. I don't think there's a reason to demonize it. I think there's a reason to objectively assess, assess how you react to those individual foods. If you are on a carnivore diet and you have a piece of fruit, good for you. If it doesn't bug you, great, go for it. I think it's perfectly fine. Fruit is not evil. However, if you're on a carnivore diet and fruit messes you up, then you don't need to be eating it. It's as simple as that. And the same thing, if you're on a plant-based diet and everything's perfect, good for you, just be objective long term. If you have a fracture like Joel Kahn does and it doesn't heal up like it should, I don't know. Hopefully your foot's doing well. But be objective about what's going on with your health, the environmental issues, the ethical issues, particularly environmental issues. I would wager most of us are clueless as to the overall facts. All most of us are doing is regurgitating the best funded propaganda that's out there. This is how it works. Whoever spends the most money on the propaganda, they get the sheep to repeat it. They bleat, blah, 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 save the planet, don't eat meat. When you look at it critically, when you look at it objectively, when you look at it through several frames of reference, you see a much different viewpoint, which I have. And anyway, all right, I'm hopeful. I am happy to stand on any stage. I'm happy to go on. If Rogan had us back on, I'd be happy to, talk about this. But I think we have to understand that before we argue research papers, we have to understand that the research is just not very good. All right, guys. Have a great day. World Carnivore Month coming up. See what it can do for you. Be objective about it. Be open to it. See what happens. You might be surprised. You might be like our first listener with ulcerative colitis and find out, hey man, my ulcerative colitis got tremendously better. Or your mental health, or your diabetes, or your blood pressure, or your joint pain, or your eczema, or your psoriasis, or any other number of conditions, which I see day in and day out, guys. So anyway, we're still learning here. Thanks for we hit 50,000 subscribers on the channel. Thanks a bunch, guys. Exciting about that. Hopefully, I'll continue to slowly upgrade my production value. Now, some people are complaining about the audio. I got to figure out how to convert this little blue Yeti mic into a way where it can hook into a lightning adapter on my phone. So if you guys know how to do that, that would be great. I've got a different mic coming out of the phone right now. So anyway, appreciate it as always. Check out the links below. And you guys have a great day. I'm going to go cook up some steaks. Take care.